Hey y'all, hey, get your booties in here. Welcome to another episode of the Cookout. I am your host, Trika, and let's just dive right into today's episode. So, today's episode is PhD versus street degree. PhD versus street degree. And the reason I'm speaking about this today is I am a person who does not have a PhD. I am a person who has had a 20-year sales and marketing career. I opened hotels, worked for radio stations, TV stations, city government, African American Museum, and I have had a great career, and I did not go to college. However, something that I experience often is being in spaces with people who have said degrees, master's degrees, PhDs, and it is kind of a cult situation. To me, it feels kind of like a cult gatekeeping situation. What I've discovered in a lot of these spaces and throughout my journey was, and I remember Obama saying this one time, he said, once you start getting into those rooms with a lot of these people who you admire, and a lot of these people that you think are way more intelligent than you, a lot of these people that you think are way more spiritual than you, a lot of these people that you think are way more capable than you. Once you start getting into rooms with a lot of these people, you realize a lot of them aren't. You realize that a lot of people are in positions because of gatekeeping. And a lot of these people, not all, okay, my experience, a lot of these people who are part of the black bourgeoisie, the black bourgeoisie is a large group of cliques, right? And they look down upon other black people who don't have certain status, right? And so these people are the people that the heads of these white organizations put in position in order to keep the rest of us out. They will allow them to get into certain seats and certain positions and give them certain benefits if they blackface. So black people in blackface, if they present the face that they are for the people, by the people, for the culture, then they are able to get certain perks and advancements as long as they gatekeep and keep other people out. And so a lot of my career, I ran into this situation where people were in positions simply because they knew someone. A lot of the times they were in positions because they were part of sororities and fraternities, right? So let me give you my spiel on the education system. So we all tend to agree that systemic racism has really impacted us as a culture. We all see the effects of systemic racism, and we have all agreed that there has been an organized effort through the government, through entertainment, through people, the elite in high places, to keep black people at arm's distance and to give the illusion that we are progressing. So they do a lot of things that ultimately lead nowhere. Marching, protesting. I just find it really hard that these institutions are the same people who try to keep black people down, are the same ones who want to offer them education. If you ask me, it's a way to keep people from learning how to be independent. It's a way to indoctrinate. Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain things, certain job fields that I absolutely believe that you need to have a further education, right? But there are so many positions that require degrees that you can have on-the-job training for. You can read a book and you can write a paper and you can study for a test and then actually get out of college, get a job, and not know what the hell you're doing. And you are still going to have to learn how to perform said duties. And One of the most interesting things is a lot of these people who have these degrees don't have integrity. They don't have good hearts. They don't have good intentions. So, what good does a piece of paper do if you're not going to do the right thing? Leadership roles require you to manage a lot of people, and there are a lot of people who don't have leadership skills. They don't know how to talk to people. They handle people wrong. I tend to believe that having this type of discussion with people who have degrees is difficult. I've had it several times with people, and my perception, again, this is just me thinking, I have the right to say what I want to say and think what I want to think. That's why I'm here. I happen to believe that people like me invalidate people with degrees. If you see someone like me who didn't go to college and went straight to the workforce, and then I get into a space that everyone has degrees, if you recognize my intelligence, if you recognize my capability, somewhere deep inside that might say to you that you did all of that work for nothing. That if we start allowing people without degrees to hold positions, that means I feel for the okie doke. That means all of that bootlicking I did was for nothing. So they have a vested interest in making sure that no matter what, these other people don't get into these positions. Now, am I saying that all people with degrees are unfit to lead? No, I'm not saying that. But what I would suggest is that you look at their life, their morals, their values, their integrity first, and that piece of paper second. Everybody is an expert at something. Everybody has something that they are good at. And if you really hone in, then you should be able to get any job in any position if you can show that you are capable of performing that position. To me, I think it's kind of formula based. I think any formula will work if you apply it correctly. I have met a lot of people in the streets who have a lot of sense. That song with Pebbles and Babyface, her girlfriend, she's like, it just takes a street degree. So you know how back in the day when all the hot boys were selling drugs, do you realize they were running entire enterprises? All you have to do is switch out the product. We have a lot of guys and girls in the streets who get their hustle on day and night. I grew up around a lot of them. See, back in the day, I dated a dope boy too, but this is nothing new. The reason why they are legalizing weed and marijuana now, and we have so many people in jail for it, is because they couldn't figure out a way how to tax them. Our guys in the streets, our thugs, our dudes, our boys have been running corporations, like managing people, managing times. Do you know the dope boys used to work in shifts? Like certain people would show up and then they would switch out. They would be hustling so hard, sometimes they wouldn't even change their clothes, honey. Like they were running entire enterprises. But that was the only thing that was available to them. Can you imagine if they would have had the access to certain things and applied that same formula? A formula can be applied to anything, And so we have, a lot of people who have the potential to be sitting in a lot of spaces that they're not, and they are the better fit for the job. But that's how systemic racism works. See, these people, these elite white people, they look at the end game. A lot of us are looking at right now. They look at stuff that they put into play that's not going to play out for 5, 10, 15, 20 years because their main concern is generations above them. They are more concerned about their lineage, creating generational wealth. So sometimes we can't see the tactics because we're not thinking long game. When they set up the school system, have you ever noticed how similar the school system is to the jail system? The hallways, the buses, the lunchrooms. This is setting you up to possibly insert into the prison system. They're run the same way. The schools and the jails are run the same way, right? And so these are a lot of things that we need to really start thinking a little more deeply about, because there are a lot of people sitting in a lot of seats who don't need to be there. Now, to those who are in those seats and who are doing the right thing, we applaud you. But we see the situation with people like Diddy. And I heard a TikToker say, this situation with Diddy is a cultural malfunction. And that is the best way that I have heard it described. When you have people out there cheering for Diddy, this is a cultural malfunction. And so this is something as a culture that we need to address. So at the end of the day, I just want us to actually have movement, not the illusion of movement. Those people who are in those seats with or without degrees, I think it's time that you really, really evaluate what you're doing in those seats. I think it's time that you realize that there are people who came before you, who fought the good fight, that you can be in those seats, and that you should definitely pay it forward. Listen, I'm just saying. So until next time, thank you for joining me here on the Cookout, and I'll see you next time.